Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today I've decided that it's about time I did something sensible, so I'm going to build this field toilet. This is a 35th scale plastic kit recently released by ICM. I spotted this on the Metro Hobbies website, who sponsor my videos sometimes, but not in this case. I saw this and knew I had to purchase it right away, so I did. If you are surprised by that, you're probably new around here. Welcome. Anyway, the back of the box shows nothing at all, and I guess that's not really surprising. Let's just get to looking at what's inside the box. After all, that's what counts. There isn't a lot here, and I didn't really expect there to be. I mean, it's a pretty simple structure, and how many components could there be to a simple 4-walled room that has a seat with a hole in it? This single sprue has all the parts, and it's very neat. It's a quite recent production, so it's not surprising that it's so nice and crisp. There are pretty much no mold lines, and those that are there are on the ends of the parts, which does make them a little bit less visible once everything is together, though you should still remove them anyway. It's not going to take a whole lot of effort, so, why not? There isn't quite a wood grain molded into the parts, and if you want that you might have to do some paint trickery, though the space in between the planks is there, and they're imperfect and not straight like you would expect to see on this kind of thing. There's also nail heads. These are lined up pretty straight, but if you look closely, they're not perfectly lined up. It is a small thing, but I feel like it adds a lot. The most fiddly parts on this kit are the door handle and little locking toggle thingy that you can see here.
That doesn't look that fiddly, Herbert!
I know. Also included in the kit is this piece of paper with a very good doggo. I haven't used ICM's customer support before, but it seems like they're willing to replace parts, and that's a good thing. And here's the instruction booklet. There's a sprue guide, just in case you need to check if you're missing anything. The instructions, which are unsurprisingly quite simple and easy to understand. And as you can see in the bottom right, there are 2 ways you can build this field toilet, with the seat or without the seat, and just a simple hole in the floor. I would prefer the seat, I think. As you see on the back, there's a painting guide, brown for the wood and steel for the metal parts. Makes sense, though it is a bit basic. We can do better than that. Time to glue some plastic together. I did a little bit of rough test fitting so that I could be sure things were going to go together neatly, and they do. I glue the left wall on, left from the perspective of the person pooping, of course. I use the work surface and rear wall to get things lined up nice and neat. I guess it doesn't really have to be perfectly square. I don't expect these things were built with super precision in mind, but it is probably best to be as neat as we can. Then I glue the rear wall into place. There is a bit of a gap where the parts join, but that's fine. It just looks like the space between 2 planks, which I think would look better than no gap at all. I make sure there's plenty of glue to hold everything together, and then I move on to the right wall. Of course, you could build this any way that you want, starting with any wall. You have the power to choose. This wall goes on pretty much the same way as the other. Nice and easy. Now for the interior detail. As I mentioned earlier, the seat part is optional. I did consider whether or not it might be a bit easier to put this in before adding the second wall, but I concluded that it's probably a bit more simple to do it the way that I've done, which is to slide the parts in, glue them, and apply a little pressure to make sure that they're in good and proper. Again, there is a gap between the seat and the little wall part, but that's fine. Like before, it just looks like a gap between the planks that you would see on this kind of thing in the real world, if you happen to come across something like this. They're not really common anymore. The front wall, I guess you might call it, goes on next, and you might be surprised to learn that this is quite easy.
Was that sarcasm?
Yeah, it sure was. I use the work surface to align the bottom of the front wall part with the bottom of the structure, and then I use it to apply nice even pressure to the front. Easily done, and the result is pretty good looking. Nobody likes getting rained on when they're pooping, so I add the roof. There are guide pins on the top of the side wall parts for this, and hopefully you didn't think they were flash or something and trim them off. Adding the roof is easy, and as you can see, there's a space above the walls to act as ventilation. Ventilation is important here. I'm sure you can imagine why. Next, I add the lock. This is a simple little wooden toggle, or maybe we could call it a simple locking tab mechanism. Either way, it goes on like so. The handle goes on the outside and mounts into the obvious little mounting holes for it. Because we've made the door, and it's a safe assumption that poopers prefer privacy, we might as well attach it to the rest of the model. This goes easily into the obvious recesses in the hinge parts on the front wall. You can model this as open or closed as you like. I've gone for fairly wide open just so that you can see inside. I mean, what's the point of putting the seat part in if nobody can see it? And that's it. The 1/35th scale plastic field toilet by ICM is now completed, and I think it's turned out pretty well. I mean, it looks pretty much exactly how I expected it to look. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's thinking something like,
I don't get it. What's the point? Surely you just did this as a joke.
and I did do it largely because it's moderately amusing, and I'm a child. But it's still a pretty decent model, and I'm sure people who are into making dioramas could certainly find a use for it, or even make it the main focus of a diorama. There's a lot you could do with it really. We, unsurprisingly, talked about it during the build stream. You could model some toilet paper, though if this is meant to be a World War II era toilet, I don't know that rolls of toilet paper would have been appropriate, but you could do something. Maybe an old newspaper or something like that. You could also make pin-ups for the walls and things like that if you wanted, or you could model a mess left by some poor bastard who had a, disaster, so to say. Gross. And I'm sure you could find a figure that would work for sitting on the toilet as well. The possibilities are limited only by your imagination. So it's an interesting piece that could be used in a variety of ways. The build was pretty quick, though it did actually take a little bit longer than I had expected. But, as always, I did build this on stream, so there was the usual distraction of interacting with chat and things like that, and of course, absolutely no immature jokes at all. Certainly nobody suggested using mouse poop to make a realistic addition. You probably won't be surprised at all when I say the build was quite easy. I probably don't even need to say that. Either way, it was a bit of fun, and it'll be a bit of fun when I eventually get around to painting it. I've not yet decided if I want to make this as a little diorama, but for something like this I could probably find the space to store it, so that is a consideration. Anyway, if you've seen any other similar kits that might just be a bit of fun, or a bit silly, or just a bit out of the ordinary, I would like to know about them. Let me know in the comments section below. That's also the place to go if you've got any questions or comments. If you would like to watch me build kits like this live on stream, head on over to my Twitch channel, the link to which, as well as all of my other stuff like social media, is in the description below. And if you've not already done so, why not subscribe, follow, ring the bell, consider becoming a patron if you want to see my videos a bit early, or maybe just come say hi on Discord or Twitch next time I'm live. And as always, I shall return soon. So until then, be excellent to each other, have a nice day, and thanks for watching. Farewell.